A very good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News on News First. I'm Ramesh Ilgal Bandara. As always, let's start off with a look at the headlines tonight.
Fuel prices hiked effective midnight. Long queues form at filling stations as motorists rush to fill up. Were fuel prices hiked based on a formula? Court orders for asset declarations of Aloysius, Palisena and perpetual treasuries to be submitted. 92-year-old Mahathir Mohamad becomes world's oldest elected leader following emphatic victory in Malaysian general election.
Well, the fuel price increase is making headlines locally, but just a short while ago, news broke that US President Donald Trump announced on Twitter that he will meet North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on the 12th of June in Singapore. Trump tweeted, "The highly anticipated meeting between Kim Jong-un and myself will take place in Singapore on the June 12th. We will both try to make it a very special moment for world peace," end quote. The summit, which has been in the works since Trump accepted Kim's invitation to meet in March, will be the first ever meeting between a sitting US president and a North Korean leader. The announcement came a day after North Korea released 3 imprisoned Americans during US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's most recent visit to Pyongyang. The case filed by the CID over the central bank treasury bond scam was taken up at the 4th Magistrates Court today.
Today, the Criminal Investigations Department submitted a progress report to court. The magistrate issued an order on the Director General of the Inland Revenue Department to furnish to the police available details of suspects number 2, 3 and 4, namely the beneficial owner of Perpetual Treasuries Limited, Arjun Aloysius, the company Perpetual Treasuries Limited and its CEO Kasun Palisena. The magistrate said the IGP or another officer with vested authority can make a request to the IRD accompanied with this order. In addition, an order was made on the Chief Executive Officer of W.M. Mendes and Company Limited to furnish all details of payments made by Perpetual Treasuries Limited to W.M. Mendes and Company Limited. The magistrate today emphasized to the prosecution the investigations need to be expedited, and if further statements are to be recorded from the suspects, it too needs to be done in an expeditious manner. The defence today made submission on nominating a representative to appear for Perpetual Treasuries Limited, and the prosecution requested 2 weeks to respond to the other submissions made. The court registrar today said in court the complete case report can be provided to the investigators today, as it is requested for the progress of extraditing former central bank governor Arjuna Mahendran. Arjun Aloysius and Kasun Palisena were further remanded to the 24th of May. Former central bank governor Arjuna Mahendran, named as suspect number 1 in this case, is currently missing despite a red notice issued on him by Interpol.
At the cabinet media briefing today, a heated discussion took place when a journalist raised a question about fugitive former governor of the central bank, Arjuna Mahendran.
What has taken so long to catch Arjun Mahendran? I mean, an entire country is looking for him. A red notice has been issued against him. I'm sure he's a well-built, bulky man, unlike an ant. So, what has it taken so long? I mean, forget about catching him, at least to locate him.
How many times you question about Udayanga Veerasunga's arrest? Now, for the last two years, he was absconding, no? Now, Jaliya Vikramasuriya. Now, who is Udayanga Veeratunga? He was our ambassador to Russia. Who is Jaliya Vikramasuriya? Our ambassador to USA. How many times you all question why we have not arrested Udayanga Veeratunga? So you think that we don't want to arrest Udayanga also? So it has taken 2 years, right? You are only asking for a man who is absconding for 3 months. You are not talking one word about the man who was who is the first accused for the big deal. Huh? We have lost billions of rupees. That billions are no problem for you all. Only this billion is the problem. This billion, you must remember, we have not lost even 1 cent from this bond scam. In this bond scam, we have lost, the loss is 11 billion We have kept, we have 12 billion in our hands. So we can recover all the money. But what about recovering the money lost because of the MIG deal? Right, it had taken 2 years to give the red notice and to arrest Udayanga Veeratunga. You are asking to arrest immediately Mahendran.
Reason out. Why has
it's the same reason.
Why has it taken so long? What is the procedure?
Why you better ask why we have taken so long to arrest Udayanga Veeratunga for the last 2 years. So that is the same reason. You think the Interpol is one of our sections? That is in France.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, but
You are not aware about that, I think, the way you question.
Well, it's our responsibility to question, but I'm asking you.
Your responsibility is to question about everything, not about one.
Yes, absolutely, Minister. Absolutely.
Right? You are the people questioning by this way, by tarnishing the name of this government. The whole problem about this government is the entire media is criticizing all what we have done. This one thing about one scam, where hundreds of scams have taken place in those countries. In the other. Now the bond scam, 2 people, no bail. Just see all the other people. Lalit Veeratunga, Gamini Senarat, Namal Rajapaksa, Yoshita Rajapaksa, all those people who were arrested. How many days they were in the prison?
As the government, why is it happening like that?
This is what I said. It's the state and the government.
What is the government
doing? We are
doing
doing our best now. We are doing, that is one legislation we have brought yesterday.
On to our developing story tonight. Well, long queues formed at filling stations across the island today following the announcement of a fuel price hike, which comes into effect at midnight. While some filling stations had put up signs saying that they were out of fuel, the Consumer Affairs Authority reiterated that it is an offence to conceal stocks.
On prior occasions when fuel prices were increased, the announcements were made closer to midnight. However, this time around, government ministers had been dropping hints of an impending fuel price hike since this morning.
There's a high chance of fuel prices to increase in the Middle East. It won't stop. They are imposing new embargoes on Iran and they won't be able to send their fuel out into the world. It is not a secret. Taking into consideration the situation in the Middle East, there will be an increase in fuel prices. 92 octane will be 137 rupees, 95 will be 148 rupees. Auto diesel will be 109 rupees, super diesel will be 119 rupees, kerosene will be 101 rupees. Especially considering the situation that has arisen in countries like Iran, the prices could go up to $80. When the prices of petroleum keeps increasing, the situation where we cannot provide fuel to the local market at the previous prices has arisen.
Immediately after the announcement of the fuel price hike, motorists rushed to filling stations across the country, causing long queues to form. Our correspondents from Colombo, Galle, Kandy, Anuradhapura, Kurunegala and Matara were at hand to capture these images.
කලින්ම වැඩි කරා නම් මේ කියන්නේම නැතුව මේ ඔක්කොම ටැංකි ටික ඉස් කරගත්තද හෙට දැන් බඩු නැතු යනවා. ඒක නෙවෙයි. ඒ විදිහට වැඩි කරා නම් කාටවත් කරදරයක් නැහැ.
පෙට්‍රල් සෙට් ඉතින් අනිත් ඒවා තරල් තිබුණා නම් මේ තරම් මේව එකක් වෙන්නේ නැහනේ. ලොක් එකේ ඉන්නේ ඊට වඩා පිටල් පිටිනවා. ඒත් පොලිමේ එනවා. අද උදේ ඉඳන් ඔයපු සල්ලි දැන් ඒකට ගා ගන්නවා. ඉතින් අපි මේ ටැංකි පුරවන්න නෙමෙයි ඉන්නේ. රුපියල් 200 පෙට්‍රල් ගහන්න ඉන්නේ. ඉතින් අපේ වැටුප ඉහළට යන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි පෙට්‍රල් මිල ඉහළ ගියාම අපිට අනිත් හැම පැත්තක්ම අපහසුතාවයටපත් වෙනවා. ජනතාවට මාර බරක් බදු පිට තවත් මේ බදු පනවලා තියෙනවා. ඒ මැදිවට මේක වැඩි වෙද්දි තවත් මේ මිනිස්සුන්ට ප්‍රශ්න නේද? මහ ජනතාව අපහසුතාවයකටපත් වෙනවනේ. කියන්නේ මිනිස්සුන්ගේ ප්‍රවාහන ගාස්තු බස් කුලි ඔක්කොම ගණන් වැඩි වෙනවා. පාර්ලිමේන්තුවල දැන් කොච්චර වීදමක් දරනවද? ඒ වයන් සහන දීලා මිනිස්සුන්ට සහනයක් දෙන්න පුළුවන් නම් තමයි.
With notices put up claiming that there were no stocks of fuel.
පෙට්‍රල් නැහැ කියලා තමයි කියන්නේ බානකම් ඉන්නවා.
We have received complaints that several filling stations do not release fuel. I have already issued instructions. It is a crime to withhold stock, and as per the Act, we have the power to confiscate such stocks. I have given the officials the relevant instructions.
Joint Cabinet spokesperson Minister Rajitha Senaratne said the decision to increase fuel prices was made last night during a meeting of Cabinet Ministers under the auspices of the President. As per the decision, the price of a litre of 92-octane petrol will increase by 20 rupees effective midnight to 137 rupees. The price of a litre of 95-octane petrol has also been increased by 20 rupees to 148 rupees. The price of a litre of Lanka auto diesel has been increased by 14 rupees, while the price of a litre of super diesel has been increased by 9 rupees. The price of a litre of kerosene has been increased to 101 rupees. Following the announcement, the Lanka Indian Oil Corporation, or Lanka IOC, announced that they too would revise their prices to reflect the new prices of Sipetco.
We increased the price of kerosene a bit more. Many diesel vehicles on the road today also use kerosene, so kerosene usage has increased by 48%. The price hike on diesel from 101 to 109 rupees is only 8 rupees. As such, we will eliminate the misuse of kerosene. However, we decided that all Samruddhi beneficiaries who are impacted by this will be able to continue to purchase kerosene at 44 rupees per litre. The old price will also apply to fishermen.
යම්කිසි බලපෑමක් සිදු කළා කියලා සමාජයේ කතාබහක් තිබුණා මේ සිපෙට්කෝ සමාගමලත් වහාම ඔබතුමන්ලත් තෙල් මිල වැඩි කරන්න කියලා. එතකොට ඒක ප්‍රතිඵලයක් හැටියටද මේ තෙල් මිල වැඩි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ?
මේ කාලේ
The loss incurred on 92 octane petrol alone is 2,966 million. On 95 octane petrol the loss is 303 million. On auto diesel the loss is 4,319 million, or the loss on super diesel is 150 million. The loss on kerosene is 2,147 million. The total loss from January to February alone is 9,886 million. So do we need an IOC to resolve this problem?
The International Monetary Fund too had reiterated the need to introduce a price formula for fuel in order for Sri Lanka to secure the release of the next tranche of the IMF's extended fund facility. Has the fuel pricing formula been introduced?
We expected that it would be a major problem for the people if there was an exponential increase in prices through a price formula, and that would not be good. At that time, the government has money to reduce prices and said the price formula would be introduced when prices increase, so it would be beneficial. That is why we did not introduce the price formula back then. So the price of a barrel of oil, which was $44 back then, has increased to $77 now. In spite of this, we have not opted for a price formula and have chosen a price revision instead.
As
per this pricing formula, the prices of fuel will change every 2 months. After the lapse of 2 months, the prices of fuel will change on the 5th or the 3rd month based on the average of prices in the previous 2 months. The Singapore Plat pricing index could also reduce.
මිල මේ අනුව වෙනස් වෙනවා විශේෂයෙන්ම සිංගප්පූ ෆ්ලැට් මිල දර්ශකය අඩු වෙන්නත් හැකියාව තියෙනවා.
Sanctions are being reimposed on Iran, so Iran will be unable to export oil. Bank transactions cannot be carried out with Iran. Until yesterday, no one knew whether the Iran deal would continue or whether it would be torn up. Now they have decided to tear it up.
No matter how much they prohibit it, there are means to purchase oil from Iran. I will tell you in private. You cannot get it from Iran, but if you take that oil elsewhere and then bring it here, it will not come as Iranian oil.
Two of Sri Lanka's defense titans traded accusations over two of the most controversial cases involving journalists. One was the abduction of Keith Noya, and the other was the murder of Lasantha Wickrematunge. The Daily Mirror, in its edition today, carried a detailed account of the accusations and the counter-accusations made by former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa and the army commander of his choice then, General Sarath Fonseca.
In the Daily Mirror report, Gotabaya Rajapaksa makes claim that the key technical evidence presented by the CID to courts were unearthed during the Rajapaksa administration. Speaking to the Daily Mirror last week, Rajapaksa recalled the records of telephone conversations and other evidence were unearthed during their time. According to Rajapaksa, immediately after these incidents, they were able to unearth all this evidence. He further said that he ordered all the intelligence agencies to conduct investigations to identify the perpetrators. He specifically recalled doing so in connection with the murder of Wickramatunge and the abduction and assault of Noya. The paper quoted the former Defence Secretary as saying, quote, "I knew definitely that Sarath Fonseca was behind these crimes," unquote. According to Rajapaksa, despite him knowing that the former army commander was behind these incidents, he still allowed the CID to obtain the correct evidence and conduct investigations. He further says he did not take action because he did not want to gain political advantage over it. Minister Sarath Fonseca says if Gotabaya Rajapaksa is a self-respecting person, he should come out and reveal the truth and make available the information he has to the CID instead of levelling wild accusations against him in the media. Sarath Fonseca asserted, when the police are closing in on Gotabaya Rajapaksa, this is what Rajapaksa does. He noted, rather than defending himself, Rajapaksa sends his lawyers running to the Supreme Court to get rulings preventing him from being arrested. Fonseca stressed, quote unquote, "The day I am accused, I will defend myself like a lion, not like a coward."
Coming up next is Action TV.
The report on the death of the principal of the Suchi National School in Hambantota, who died following an accident sustained during an outbound leadership training program for national school principals, was released today. The principal had attended the training program in question based on this letter issued by the Director of National Schools and thereafter met with an unfortunate accident on the 17th of February. Sadly, she passed away that very evening after being moved to the National Hospital in Colombo from the Wayamba Training Centre where the program had taken place. The coroner's report states the cause of death was wounds sustained to the head after falling off a rope.
The instructor of the Leadership Training Program, Director of National Schools Education and the Director of the Human Resources Division have provided evidence. After filing all the evidence, Mr. Ashraful has announced his decision. It states the officials of the Leadership Training Program must be held accountable over this. We must clearly state that if one is directed for any training, that person needs to undergo a medical examination. The training has to be provided based on the medical report.
The former Director of Human Resources Development at the Ministry of Education in his statement to the inquiry had said the victim had voluntarily taken part in the training program. However, he had not provided any evidence to corroborate these claims. When the victim met with the accident, her helmet had come off, and this clearly means there was no issue surrounding her health or fitness, but was a serious shortcoming in the part of the protection provided during the training.
The
Director of Human Resources Development at the Ministry of Education says the principal engaged in this activity voluntarily. That is a baseless statement, because once the principal receive a directive from the education authorities, they have to comply. It is disgraceful if they are making such statements when a death had taken place following such an event. This is not the first time my wife took part in the training program. During the previous administration, my wife was given a training for a month at the Runtime Military Training Center. She did not even suffer a minor scratch over there. That was an institution where the instructors were trained by the military. When my wife died, the training was given by an instructor who had retired from the Youth Services Council.
After taking into account the observations and recommendations made in the investigation carried out following the death of this principal, the Education Ministry decided to blacklist the training centre in question. Who is the officer at the Ministry of Education who provided the contract to this institution that was ultimately blacklisted to play with the lives of the innocent? Shouldn't the law of the country be enforced against this officer? Minister of Education, this is over to you.
The 66th Udagammana Concept Village, constructed under the new Udagammana program, was vested with the public today. The event was graced by Deputy Leader of the UNP, Minister Sajid Premadasa.
The village, which comprises of 30 homes, was built at a cost of 19 million rupees. Following the event, the minister responded to allegations made by a certain group. I feel disgusted to comment on those who make allegations. The very people who use the housing ministry resources to provide houses to their family members and relatives are those who are slinging mud at us. They have become champions in that. Before they sling mud at others, they need to go in front of a mirror and take a look at what was done during their time. Everywhere you look, there is theft, fraud, nepotism and other irregularities. One strong man's wife had 2 passports. They obtained it illegally and did many wrongs. Together they are trying to assassinate my character. I wish to state the following to all the media institutions. Never stop slinging mud at Sajid Premadasa because it actually provides me with more strength. With each blow, I will lay a strong foundation to construct houses for the hundreds of thousands in the country. I say this with pride.
In more local news, construction of the Sengal Oya irrigation project commenced today.
The objective of this project is to supply water to 8 rivers in the Arachikattua area and to the Anavilundava wetlands. State Minister of Irrigation and Water Resources and Disaster Management, Palitharange Bandara, made a revelation at the launch. I had to struggle with the party and the government. Why? It's not for any of my personal needs. When an ocean university was to be moved here, Minister Mahinda Samarasinghe did not allow that to happen. He also objected when a technical college was to be opened here. The cabinet paper was not presented. I had to hypothetically pull out the pistol. That is how a technical college was moved to this area. What is the point if I do not represent my people and represent the leaders, if garbage, coal come into my district, and if the ash is released to the lagoon, and when it poses a threat to the people's lives?
Well, a public lecture on securing successful reform, the role of institutions, was delivered at the Central Bank of Sri Lanka yesterday.
The lecture was delivered by Professor Gary Banks, the former chairman of Australia's Productivity Commission, who spoke about the Australian perspective on reform.
Hearing the stories over the last 2 days here in Sri Lanka, I had a sense of déjà vu. It took me back to some extent to Australia in the 70s and 80s, that the issues that you're confronting in terms of the need to reform were also issues that we faced in Australia. We had very high industry protection with tariffs that were made to measure to protect individual industries according to their lack of competitiveness. So in a sense, the more uncompetitive they were, the more they were rewarded with high protection, which of course imposed a massive cost on the consumer. Unsurprisingly, that produced an uncompetitive economy.
Well, a special program to revive temples and viharas in the Trincomalee district commenced yesterday under the auspices of Most Venerable Dimul Kumbure Vimaladhamma Thero, the Anunayaka of the Malwatu chapter of the Siam sect.
This program comes under the first phase of the initiative funded by the Temple of the Sacred Tooth Relic to revive temples and viharas across the island. Aid was provided to 35 viharas located in the Gomara Kadavala and Serula Divisional Secretariat jurisdictions. The Abadna Nilame of the Temple of the Sacred Tooth Relic, Nilangadala, was among those present.
Those who govern the country and those who are heading various organizations, now how do these people govern the country? How do they handle the finances in running the country? This is a major problem. You are aware of the great menace that happened within the treasury.
Let's now take a look at today's illustrated news by Asanka Laduehetti. And in sports news tonight, Sri Lanka cricket is under the spotlight once again as questions are emerging about if it is serious about holding elections to appoint office bearers for the institution. Shahin Jurampati is in the studio with me tonight to explain the controversy. Shaheen?
Well, thank you very much, Ramesh. Just as you said, questions are emerging about Sri Lanka cricket, and there's controversy whether or not the elections will be held. Now, initially, the elections for Sri Lanka cricket were to be held on the 19th of this month. However, as objections were filed challenging the legality of the appointment of an elections committee, the Ministry of Sports decided to seek the advice of the Attorney General. Therefore, the Ministry of Sports informed Sri Lanka cricket to appoint the elections committee at a general meeting and to hold the elections in accordance with the relevant regulations declared under the sports law. Thereby, Sri Lanka cricket informed sports clubs that a general meeting would be convened on the 19th to appoint an elections committee for the elections to appoint office bearers. Now, moving on, the elections committee will oversee the entire election process from calling for nominations to the point of announcing the results. However, at this point, as nominations have been called by the Secretary of Sri Lanka Cricket, and it clearly indicates in the new regulations that all election-related activities have to be handled by the elections committee, nominations have to be recalled. Now, the Minister of Sports initially sought the advice of the Attorney General, as nominations had previously been called during the existence of an elections committee which was appointed in violation of the sports law. However, the Sports Ministry is yet to announce the Attorney General's legal interpretation to the media. Now, the process of calling for nominations down to the announcement of the results for elections for the National Olympic Committee, Football Federation, Netball Federation and Athletics Federation were all handled by an elections committee. So, if a free and fair election is to be expected, it is imperative that nominations are to be recalled through the new elections committee, which will be appointed on the 19th, and the election is held in a legal manner. Now, but for this to materialize, it requires a minimum of 40 days as per the regulations of the sports law number 25 of 1973. Therefore, holding the elections on the 31st of this month bears several obstructions. As the term of the incumbent office bearers of Sri Lanka cricket ends on the 31st of this month, it seems quite likely that Sri Lanka cricket will function under an interim committee for a short period of time.
Thank you, Shaheen, for that comprehensive update on the Sri Lanka cricket elections. Unfortunately, that's it for the news tonight. I'm Ramesh Rugal Mandara for News First. Good night.